Okay, so now
Okay.
thank you all for joining us in this panel discussion. I would like to kick off, by hearing from you on some macro trends. So you see, sustainability is now a present operational reality. It is a requirement. From your perspective, how has the manufacturing landscape already changed over the last 3 to 5 years, and how quickly is this shift accelerating today? Feel free to share your thoughts. Who'd like to go first? Sure.
Would you
Yes,
like to start,
you
Jasmine?
might be your sound is not audible. Let's kick off with Rafael while Yasmin is working on her audio. Yeah.
Yes, so thank you very much for the invitation and the kind introduction. And great to be here. Thank you very much, Li Jin, as well, for providing us with a great insight in the master class as well. So a lot of great things have been uttered there as well. And yeah, so in that sense, what I would like to go into, maybe give you a little bit of a general macroeconomic overview on these topics, which I find quite interesting, and then going into more and more detail to provide with research strategies and also Industry 4.0 tech, where we can combine these things. So in general, I would say the sustainability topic has gained a lot of traction in the last couple of years. It's getting more and more important due to regulatory pressures, pressures in the environment, cost-related pressures, external supply shocks as well. So it's definitely an a key and core component of the manufacturing base. But maybe to go a little bit into on because we're always talking about sustainability, right? Maybe I would like to go a little bit into what that really is, right? Because maybe there's a lot of definition out there and a lot of things that we're talking about, and we're building a whole entire new industrial system on it. But maybe to go a little bit into the background of it. So sustainability really comes from forestry, right? And the main objective in 1713, I think, was basically the sustainability premise was um, only cut so many trees in a forest that could be regrown in a certain period, right? So, for example, for a chair, if you're producing a chair, for a chair to be really sustainable, the chair has to have a useful life of the time that it takes a tree to grow, right? And so we know now that how we actually can look at sustainability. Sustainability needs qualitative products, long asset lifetimes, highly durable products, and to actually enable these loops or these circular economy loops for usage of that product, right? So you're using that product and then you're giving it away to the next person. They're reusing it, right? And the whole entire lifetime of that product needs to be multiple years in that sense, if you're building a wooden chair for that. In that sense, we're looking at a macroeconomic global system that is now very linear. So we have a threefold logic where we are extracting resources, we're producing something with it, and then normally all of these things land up in waste. And so this is not really sustainable in a world that has limited resources and in a world that is fighting wars over resources, right? And so I think if we're looking at that, sustainability really becomes the core objective due to the fact that we just simply can't say, well, waste is not something that is an economic reality, let's say. And the overall goal of the circular economy of sustainability are these three points, as mentioned by Li Jin: the elimination of waste through circular design principles, the circulation of resources at high purity, which then will lead to regeneration. Regeneration not only in the environment, but also for wallets in terms of cost reductions and also for job creation. So we can combine social, economic, and environmental aspects in that. And how I see that is in the macro sense, how manufacturing has changed is that we're now looking at a globalized, centralized world where we're looking at very long supply chains, centralized means of production, very big production facilities. And I think this is where the shift comes into the localization of manufacturing, the decentralization of manufacturing networks, and the on-demand production while using certain resource loop in a localized realm. So I think this would lead to short supply chains, reduction in transportation costs, creation of jobs locally, right? A re-regionalization and the putting back the means of production into the countries to really enable the empowerment of people. So it was just my first take on this macro trend, but there's of course a lot more to say, and we're going into more and more details on how we can deploy that. So thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm giving to Jasmine as well.
Not audible. Next, Li Jing, maybe you have some different perspective on this to add. Okay, Li Jing, unmute, please. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. While Yasmin is figuring out her mic, I'll jump in and chip in on that. I think like just now something that popped up even in the masterclass when we were engaging was about this sentiment of, there are certain protectionist sort of sentiment that's out there, right? Be it in terms of like trade barriers or border rules or even anti-climate sort of rhetorics and things like this. Generally, if we look at the world we are today, there is this I think protectionist feel to it. And for manufacturers, I think which has become quite used to this global, very globalized trade, be it in terms of gaining supply or off letting all the products into the market. This then becomes something that is quite risky, especially if you don't have the backup plan. Right. And therefore having that understanding of how all these all these things add up in your supply and value chain become very important to have that sustainability lens, not just in terms of like, oh, we're saving the planet, but in terms of how am I actually going to sustain my production and my business as well. Right. And where the change also comes in is that more and more, even in the newer generation of workers, right, a lot of them say, oh, they're not consistent, they don't come to work, or they want more things in life, and blah, blah, blah. Actually, what is really sort of like missing there to be able to sustain the talents in the workforce is also very much about how these businesses sustain their impact. Right. So there is this change as well as that what is the role of manufacturers and what is the purpose of even going into manufacturing or going into innovation if what I am creating actually cannot sustain life. Right. So therefore this whole combination, I think when we look at sustainability, as Raphael rightly put, it's not just about the environment, but it is also about that sustainability in terms of the economics that support the lives, that support the communities to regenerate themselves. And at the end of it, find that purpose that allows us to sustain our own life through that lifetime that we have. So there is this interlinkage between many challenges that we're facing in the world today, be it in terms of insufficient workforce, or underutilized workforce, more people wanting to just rely on benefits, or businesses finding it difficult to retain. It's very costly to onboard and then off-let somebody else, and then needing them to have that initiative to then solve your supply chain related disruptions and challenges. I think that's the changing sort of environment that manufacturers today have to deal with, that maybe the good old years, people just come to the factory, do their work, and that's done, is not there anymore. It's changed now from a human perspective, but also from the macro environment, physical environment perspective as well. Yeah. So maybe Yasmin would like to chip in. Oops, just Yasmin.
Yeah, probably restart. Yeah. No worries. We could wait for her in a bit. And let's talk about the definition of operational excellence itself, right? How is that going to evolve in a world shaped by climate risk, regulation, geopolitical uncertainty? Traditionally, because operational excellence is only focused on efficiency, cost reduction, reliability. And today, we're talking about sustainability, green practices and innovation. How do you think that's going to be changing, the definition of operational excellence? Yeah, who'd like to go first?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's always worth to look at the various parts of these topics. I mean, we have circular economy, we have sustainability topics in general, we have the human element, we have job creation, we have technology as well, multiple technologies. And I think the most important thing is to not look at all of these things in silos. I have a feeling that we need to combine these things in a coherent framework, let's say, to actually enable then operational excellence, right? Because sustainability from that perspective really the best definition that I come to find was the maintenance of the quality and quantity of stock. So maintaining quality and quantity of stock. But stock can be a lot of things. It can be material flows. It can be other resource flows such as water, energy systems. It can be the human capacity, for example, the health of a human, right? So this is also something that needs to be maintained in terms of quality and quantity, right?